This is TechCrunch. Commonwealth Fusion Systems is the best-funded fusion power startup, having raised $4 billion from investors over the last 7 years, including the $1 billion the company has raised now. Now, developments at CFS, plus rumblings from industry sources TechCrunch has spoken with in recent months, suggest that the startup might go public in the next 2 or 3 years. Now, one of those developments was the appointment of Lawrence Kim as CFS's new chief financial officer last week. Kim's previous stint as a CFO was at Moderna, a biotech which specializes in mRNA therapies, which he joined in 2014 and subsequently helped take public in December of 2018. He stuck around another year and a half before returning to biotech investing. Kim said he sees something very familiar in CFS. Fusion today is where mRNA was a decade ago, scientifically real, commercially yet to be proven, and closer than the consensus thinks. The choice might seem unusual, but Kim is not the first fusion executive to come with a background in the biotech world. Eric Lander, who helped lead the Human Genome Project, co-founded Pacific Fusion and now serves as its CEO. Christine Dunn, head of external communications at CFS, told TechCrunch, Lawrence offers the unique experience of bringing to the world a completely novel, mission-driven product that sits at the intersection of breakthrough deep science, geopolitical urgency, and deployment at scale and speed. She added that Kim said his arrival does not necessarily mean that IPO preparations are underway. Moderna took 4.5 years to IPO after Kim joined, but given the progress at CFS and Kim's recent arrival, the startup is likely to go public sooner than that. Now, a few points support TechCrunch's theory of a shorter timeline. First, Moderna develops therapies for human diseases that do not hit the market until they're approved by the FDA, which requires data from lengthy and costly clinical trials. That timeline is driven by the fact that human lives are at stake. With fusion, however, the potential of deadly errors is lower. Fusion reactors fizzle out instead of melting down, so they're safer than fission reactors. Recognizing that, federal regulators have given the fusion industry guidelines that are distinct from the fission industry, and in that sense, CFS has greater control over its destiny. Secondly, CFS is making steady progress on Spark, its demonstration reactor. Years ago, it had hoped to get the device up and running by 2025, and it is now targeting a launch later this year. Still, a large, first-of-a-kind project can avoid some delays, and CFS has managed to keep them from becoming excessive. The company hopes that by next year, Spark will achieve scientific break-even, when a fusion reaction produces more energy than was required to start it. So far, only one experiment has achieved scientific break-even, so reaching that milestone would help CFS show investors that it is making steady progress toward commercialization. And lastly, CFS has started work on its commercial-scale power plant ARC. It has selected a site in Chesterfield County, Virginia, and has started receiving the necessary permits. CFS hopes to have ARC up and running by the early 2030s. If CFS goes public in the coming years, it will still have several years of heavy expenditures ahead. From that perspective, hiring Kim may prove a wise move, considering he oversaw Moderna during its early years as a public company when it was losing money until the COVID-19 pandemic delivered an unexpected windfall. The current AI data center boom is a similar sort of black swan event, so it makes sense that CFS will want to strike before investor appetite wanes. One fusion company, General Fusion, went public via a SPAC deal earlier this month, and another, TAE Technologies, will do so by merging with Trump Media and Technology Group. Tech companies today are buying electricity at seemingly any cost. CFS knows this, having already sold half the output of its first power plant to Google. But IPO windows do not last forever, and CFS will not want to let this opportunity pass it by. Last week, Okta agreed to acquire AI identity security startup Permiso Security, betting that demand for protecting AI agents and other machine identities will grow as enterprises deploy autonomous software across their operations. The identity management company did not disclose the terms of the transaction, but TechCrunch has learned that the acquisition is valued at just under $200 million and is structured as an almost all-cash deal, according to a source with knowledge of the deal. A spokesperson for Okta did not dispute the $200 million figure when TechCrunch asked CEO Todd McKinnon for comment about the deal, but the company would not comment on specifics of the deal terms. Now, the deal is expected to close in the third quarter of fiscal 2027, subject to customary closing conditions, that is. Okta's move to buy Permiso comes as identity management companies seek to expand beyond verifying users at login to continuously monitoring what users, applications, and AI agents do once gaining authorized access to a network environment. Now, that shift has intensified competition to secure machine identities as enterprises embed AI deeper into everyday operations. Permiso, which emerged from Stealth in 2022, develops software that helps security teams spot suspicious activity in cloud environments after users or applications have been granted access. More recently, the startup has expanded its platform to monitor AI agents and other machine identities. Co-founded by former FireEye executives Paul Nguyen and Jason Martin, Permiso specializes in detecting attacks that use stolen or compromised identities to move through cloud infrastructure. In April, the startup also introduced SandyClaw, a platform designed to analyze AI agent skills in a sandboxed environment to identify malicious behavior before they are deployed. The deal strengthens Okta's push into securing AI agents and other non-human identities alongside its core identity management business. Permiso will extend Okta's identity security fabric with proven identity threat detection and response capabilities, said Okta's Chief Product Officer Eli Khan in a prepared statement, and an incredible threat research and security team that will advance Okta's threat detection and prevention capabilities. Permiso has raised about $29 million to date, including an $18.5 million Series A round in April of 2024, led by Altimeter Capital. People familiar with the financing said the Series A valued the Palo Alto-based startup at about $80 million on a post-money basis. That's all for now. For the latest in tech news, go to TechCrunch.com.